Hello and good evening. You're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Hafiz Marzukhi. Malaysia will receive a state visit from Chinese President Xi Jinping from April 15th to 17th. This is according to the government spokesperson, Dato' Fahmi Fazil, who is also the communications minister.
He said the cabinet considers the visit significant in efforts to strengthen bilateral relations, particularly in the area of trade. He added that this visit is not only highly anticipated, but it is also part of Malaysia's efforts as a trading nation to enhance trade relations with various countries, including China. Fahmi added that further details regarding President Xi's visit will be announced by Wisma Putra.
Bank Negara Malaysia is exploring measures beyond monetary policy to mitigate the impact of US tariffs on Malaysia's economy. Central Bank Governor Dato' Sri Abdul Rashid Ghaffur says monetary policy is not the best tool to resolve trade wars.
Speaking to Bloomberg, Rashid said Malaysia is in a strong position to withstand any impact of the tariffs. This is due to its robust investment, strong domestic demand, and diverse trade partners. Acknowledging the continued volatility in the ringgit, Rashid assured that BNM is prepared to intervene when necessary, although he stressed that any currency actions will be measured to maintain orderly markets. The central bank, he said, is reassessing Malaysia's 2024 growth forecast of 4.5 to 5.5%. There's no urgency to revise it yet as conditions remain fluid. In the meantime, the government is urged to accelerate structural reforms to strengthen economic growth and support the ringgit.
The government, through the National Disaster Management Agency, or NADMA, has allocated 14.7 million ringgit in disaster relief funds to the Selangor government for 2025. The allocation will be used to provide 1,000 ringgit in aid to each head of household affected by disasters.
It will also include another 10,000 ringgit to the next of kin of those who lost their lives. The Petaling District and Land Office, as the District Disaster Management Committee, will distribute the aid based on the list of household heads registered with the Social Welfare Department. The assistance also covers victims affected by the recent gas pipeline fire incident in Putra Heights, Subang Jaya. It was recently announced that households whose homes were destroyed in the disaster would also receive 10,000 ringgit in cash aid, comprising 5,000 ringgit from the federal government and another 5,000 ringgit from Petronas. While for homes that suffered partial damage, the owners will get 5,000 ringgit, comprising 2,500 ringgit from the federal government and another 2,500 ringgit from Petronas.
All 56 state assembly persons will contribute 200 ringgit each and state excos 1,000 ringgit each to the Tabung Prihatin Selangor to aid in Putra Heights recovery. Selangor Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Amiruddin Syahari says it is estimated that approximately 102,050 will be raised through these contributions.
Selangor civil servants holding grade 48 positions or higher would also each contribute 50 ringgit to the fund. Meanwhile, Amiruddin confirmed that all temporary relief shelters in Putra Heights will be closed by the end of the week, with the process starting tonight. The Selangor Land and Mines Office's mobile van will be deployed from Monday to assist legitimate homeowners by printing new land grants free of charge. As of last night, the Petaling District Office and the Social Welfare Department verified a total of 469 families affected by last Tuesday's gas pipeline explosion. The verification process will be completed by Friday to ensure that all legitimate victims receive aid.
Incidents such as the Putra Heights gas explosion may not be the last if concrete measures are not put in place. The Association of Water and Energy Research Malaysia and the Centre for Water and Energy Sustainability have called on the government to reassess risk and implement mitigation plans to prevent future incidents.
When we talk about risk assessment, we need to look at over a period of time how changes in the surrounding impacts the security that we put in place or what we have put in the design when we first implement these ROW infrastructures. And in this case, I think it's just a few meters away from the gas pipe, the excavation was done. And till date, I think we won't be able to get what exactly has happened, basically because there was an explosion. So the soil structure was basically changed. So there need to be a lot of modeling done to actually find out what's happening. So this is where I think we asked the government to basically look at where all this infrastructure is actually going. We're talking about gas supply, electricity supply, and also the water supply main trunks, and how it can pose a risk. And then from there, what are the potential mitigation that we can look at? Are we just going to look at improving the safety standard, or are we going to put new infrastructure to basically protect the surrounding area?
Piara urged the government to form a national task force to look into risk assessments of utility infrastructure as an immediate preventive measure.
This is where we want this task force to actually go back, look at this high-risk area. Probably some of the utilities would have raised this issue, but it was not seen as something that is serious. I remember in many meetings raising issues, especially related to water and electricity. And, it is just kept as it is. They take note of this concern. We don't see it comes to action. If we are not going to have a stricter approval processes, or even a higher standard, then it's not going to help. So as public, I think our role is limited. Probably I would say limited to once a year, or if there's a by-election. Other than that, the complaints are not actually addressed when it comes to situations like this.
We'll go for a short break. Don't go anywhere.
Kerap menggaruk kulit kepala disebabkan kelumur, masalahnya lebih mendalam. Gunalah Head & Shoulders menembusi 5 lapisan untuk membasmi kelumur dan kegatalan. Bebas kelumur sehingga 100%. Head & Shoulders diuji secara dermatologi. Maggi Curry. Rasanya tiada ganti.
Dah cuba elak panas terik, tapi kulit kepala masih gatal dan berminyak. Mungkin ia kelumur. Gunalah Head & Shoulders. Berkesan menghapuskan kelumur sehingga 100% bebas kelumur. Head & Shoulders.
In the latest escalation of a trade war between the world's two largest economies, China has announced an additional 84% tariff on all goods imported from the US starting tomorrow. This comes after US President Donald Trump's new round of reciprocal tariffs on 60 countries took effect today, including a staggering 104% duty on China. He touts his tariff measures as legendary in a positive way, claiming they are already generating nearly $2 billion a day for the country.
This latest round builds on an earlier blanket 10% tariff on all imports from many countries, which came into effect last Saturday. The additional tariffs on China, which were initially set at 54%, kicked in after Beijing refused to meet Trump's deadline to withdraw its own retaliatory levies on American goods. China has accused Washington of bullying practices, but said it was willing to reopen up dialogue to resolve them. Meanwhile, other nations have begun channeling support to key export sectors. South Korea unveiled a series of emergency measures for automakers, including tax cuts and subsidies. Central banks in New Zealand and India have also cut interest rates in what could be a broader policy response to cushion the tariffs' impact on their economies. Although Trump said the tariffs would boost the US economy, economists warn that American consumers are likely to bear the brunt of the global trade war, facing higher prices on most products. The president has also signaled that he was far from done, telling Republican lawmakers he would soon announce major tariffs on pharmaceutical imports, one of the few categories of goods still exempt from his sweeping tax measures.
When a trade war happens, nobody wins. This is the message drummed home by United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres as he warned of the devastating impacts that additional tariffs could create for developing countries.
trade wars are extremely negative. Nobody wins with a trade war. Everybody tends to lose. And I'm particularly worried with the most vulnerable developing countries in which the impact will be more devastating. I sincerely hope that we will have no recession, because a recession will have dramatic consequences, especially for the poorest people in the world.
Amid widespread opposition, US President Donald Trump on April 2nd signed an executive order on the so-called reciprocal tariffs, imposing a 10% minimum baseline tariff and higher rates on certain trading partners. The 10% baseline has already been implemented as of Saturday. Starting at midnight on Wednesday, increased import tax rates introduced will come into effect for dozens of countries and territories. South Korea has announced emergency support measures for its auto sector. This move is aimed at reducing the blow of US President Donald Trump's tariffs on a sector that has seen years of sharply rising exports to the United States.
Trump has announced a 25% tariff on imported cars and light trucks starting on Thursday. The tariff covers more than $460 billion worth of imports of vehicles and auto parts annually, according to a Reuters analysis. To help prevent any liquidity issues, the government will raise policy financing support for automakers to 15 trillion won in 2025 from the 13 trillion won previously planned, according to the statement. The government will lower taxes on automobile purchases to 3.5% from the current 5% until June 2025 and raise electric vehicle subsidies to 30 to 80% of price discounts from the current 20 to 40%, with the period extended by 6 months to the end of this year. In 2024, South Korea's exports of automobiles to the United States stood at $34.7 billion, accounting for 49% of its total auto exports.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. Check out our web portal, keeping you informed on the critical events shaping our world, all in one place at international.astroawani.com. That's all for now. I'm Hafiz Marzukhi. Thanks for watching and good night.